Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Post Cologne. Today I'm going to be unboxing 3 inspired by fragrances from the House of Dumont featuring Celerio Oros. So let's jump into it. All right, we are back with another unboxing first impressions video of 3 inspired by fragrances. Can't use the other words because I want my videos to stay up. From the House of Dumont, I got one from their Nitro series line, I got one from Borouj, and I got one, the Celerio Oros from that line. Haven't tried anything from the Celerio line yet, so I am pretty excited because I've been hearing a lot of good things. Link's gonna be down in the description if you decide you want to check any of these fragrances out, along with some coupon codes, discount codes, all that kind of stuff. All gonna be down there, so go check it out. So, pretty excited. Let's quit screwing around. Let's get into it. All right, kicking things off, going to the Dumont Nitro series, and it's Dumont Nitro Blue. Now you can scoop this up for about $35 at places like PerfumeBox, and don't know much about this one. I've heard it's not really a blue fragrance. It's kind of a mix of a few different fragrances, so I don't know. Let's find out, shall we? All right, there we have the box presentation for Dumont Nitro Blue. Not much to it, cardboard box. Check out the bottle. All right, there we have the bottle presentation for Dumont Nitro Blue. The same as the other Nitro series, if you're not familiar with them, that's got kind of a nice leathery, pleathery kind of wrap going around it. It has this little doodad tassel that's hanging on there, and it is a blue bottle, as the name would suggest. Cap on this, a nice, thick, heavy metal, and the atomizer on this bad boy. Nice atomizer. Halfway across the room, good distribution, will definitely get the job done. But what does this smell like? So right off the rip, just smell this in the air. Immediately you get that kind of almondy vibe that you would get in Parfums de Marly's Pegasus, or Mauve Crave if you're not familiar. A very, very similar style of that kind of almond. A little bit of some spice going on there, but through and through, that's pretty much the first thing I'm picking up. So let's get this on paper, let's dive in. Yeah, so right off the gate, to just smell this off paper, you get that almond notes that I said. I could smell it way more in the air than I can off the test strip here. You do get some citrus, you get a little bit of this orange flower, orange blossom style of kind of floral sweetness that's mixing in there. Little bits of some cinnamon as well, but the almond note is definitely there. Just not as strong as it was in the air, but it's definitely got that kind of sweetness going on to it. Nice kind of warm spice as well. Definitely not a blue fragrance, that's for sure. Yeah, as it's opening up a little bit more, that almond note is coming forward a lot more, along with some more kind of gourmandy styles of notes. A bit of a praline that's there. There is some like sweet style of cardamom that's just kind of poking out from the edges, and a little bit of woody accord that's kind of just forming a bit of a base, but through and through this has got that very kind of warm, sweet, desserty, gourmandy sort of vibe going on to it, with that really kind of distinct Pegasus style of almond that's going through it. And it's really quite nice. It's an interesting combination, so I wouldn't say it's, you know, a complete inspired by of Parfums de Marly's Pegasus. It's got aspects of that for sure, and it's kind of just mixing in with some more kind of desserty notes, a little bit of some woods. Very nice. Yeah, this is quite nice. This isn't, the main accords here are definitely sweet, but it's not like overly sweet. It's not like cavity inducing sweet or kind of like, you know, club banging sweet style of fragrance. Just a nice balance of those gourmandy notes that are coming through, and it has a bit of a lightness to it, a bit of like, not necessarily an airiness to it, but it's just, like I said, it's not thick, it's not heavy, it's just got a kind of a nice balance of all those sweet accords, and the woods in here just kind of just forming that masculine base and some nice warm spices that are mixed in. So I'm digging this one so far. Let's skip to the dry down, see how it unfolds, and we'll go from there. All right, back with the dry down of Dumont Nitro Blue. Been an hour, let this settle down, do its thing. Hasn't changed a whole lot. There is a little bit more vanilla that's kind of come through, more vanillic accords, I should say. A balsamic sweetness mixing with that vanilla, but it still has those gourmandy aspects to it. The praline's still there. Has a bit more woods that have poked through, just more like forming that foundation for all those kind of sweet gourmandy things to get drizzled on top of. And it still has that almond note, that Parfums de Marly style of almond that's coming through, and is kind of what's standing out the most, but it's just kind of surrounded a little bit more with those vanillic, kind of milky, creamy, gourmandy, delicious sweet accords that's going on. But like I said, this is not too heavy. This is a sweet style of fragrance, but it's not a sugary sweet, a cloying sweet style of fragrance. I think fall and springtime, mild, moderate temperatures, this would do just fine. And I think for 35 bucks, this is pretty good. If you are into that style of almond note that you would pick up in like Armaf Craze, Parfums de Marly's Pegasus. Very, very similar, and I think you would enjoy this fragrance. It's not as loud as Craze, but it's definitely there and definitely noticeable. And I think for 35 bucks, pending performance, this is a pretty good pickup. That's Dumont Nitro Blue. All right, next up, going over to the Borouj series, and it's Borouj Lamasat Oud. I think I pronounced that right. I picked this up for about $50 at discounters like PerfumeBox, and I don't know much about this. I've unboxed about 4, maybe 5 Borouj fragrances so far, and pretty good. So let's see how this one does. All right, there we have the box presentation for Borouj Lamasat Oud. Very similar presentation to the other Borouj fragrances. Has this slide off, fairly thick cardboard cover revealing another white box underneath. Has a little sticker here that we need to take care of really gently. And then our fragrance bottle opens, or box opens up to show our fragrance bottle sitting nice and neat inside this little fuzzy foam podium. So, pardon me. Box presentation, pretty nice on this, and typical Borouj style of bottle. Has this kind of nice tapered, chiseled style of thick, heavy glass to it, has a decent base to it. Cap on this, nice, thick, heavy metal, and I believe these are pressurized atomizers. Let's find out here. Oh, there we go. Hell yeah, pressurized atomizer. Love me a good pressurized atomizer. But what does this smell like? So right off the rip, just smell this in the air. Really nice woody profile that's going on here. Has like a pepperiness to it, a really kind of like spicy woody profile that's going on to it. Not particularly dark, but it's got that kind of a little bit of a heaviness to it, if that makes any sort of sense, but really nice woody profile that's come through. Let's get this on paper and dive in. Yeah, right out the gate, just smelling this off paper, very similar to how it was in the air. Like I said, very woody, has this kind of auger wood, Gaiac wood, cedar combination that's going on to it. So it has a little bit of that oudiness to it, but it's not your typical, you know, oud you would think of. It's really a woody oud that's mixing with some really spicy style of woods. It's almost got kind of like a lemon pepper style of woods that are going on to it, but more on the pepper side of things. And it's just a really nice spiced wood combination that's going on here. I'm digging this one. It's very like sophisticated, gentlemanly, but it's also got this kind of like bold masculine aspect to it. So very, very nice. Yeah, as it's opening up a little bit, it's almost got kind of like a balsamic, resinous, like sweet spiciness that's going on to it. That, like I said, it kind of adds to that kind of bold masculine profile to it. Has that kind of like a sappy earthiness to it, mixing in with those spicy woods. Is just very masculine. I think I've said that a few times now, but I'm digging it. This is kind of reminding me of the Maison Alhambra's Zafiro Crafted Oud, which I believe is an inspired by of Thamine that I have not smelled, but this really reminds me of that Maison Alhambra with that woody profile that's coming through. Like I said, very kind of like spiced woods, auger wood, Gaiac wood, cedar that's coming through. Really reminds me of that fragrance, but if memory serves, I'm gonna have to pull that off the shelf. If memory serves, this just comes across a little bit richer, a little bit like higher quality than that fragrance, but it is very nice. Yeah, it's not changing a whole lot. It's kind of sticking to that profile. So let's get to the dry down, see how this unfolds, and we'll go from there. All right, back to the dry down of Borouj Lamasat Oud. Been about an hour, let this settle down, do its own thing. Didn't change a whole lot. If anything, it just kind of got a little deeper, a little bit richer with those woods, but it's still got that same profile. That Gaiac wood is really coming forward. It has that cedar that's there. Little touches of some earthy patchouli have kind of come up a little bit more, so it has a kind of like a dry earthiness, but the star of the show is that woody profile, and it's a really nice like balsamic-y, spicy, like almost peppery style of like wood accord that's coming through with just that kind of little kiss of that woody oud that's in there. So it's not like an oudy fragrance necessarily. It's more about that Gaiac wood, a little hint of that cedar, just a nice dry, rich, kind of dark, heavy woods in that dry down. And I'm digging this one. Like I said, probably 100 times in the opening to this. Very bold, masculine, has that gentlemanly vibe, but it's also got a little bit more of that kind of bad boy mystique going on to it. And I am digging this. I did pull out the Maison Alhambra Zafiro Crafted Oud from my shelf, just because it did remind me of that one quite a bit, and there are definite similarities between those two fragrances. I do happen to enjoy the scent profile on this one. This one's just a little bit like richer, a little bit more like the quality on this is a little bit better, and I'm just finding it's a little stronger as well than compared to that one. This is just like a 10-minute in between opening dry down, so it's not like a full-on comparison here, but very similar to that one, and I am enjoying this one quite a bit, and I think this is gonna be a good performer because this was the first thing I smelled when I walked back in this room, so this has potential. Definitely enjoying this one, and for 51 bucks, pending that performance, I think this was a good pickup. That's Borouj Lamasat Oud. All right, last, but hopefully not least, we're going with Dumont Celerio Oros. Now you can pick this up for $55 at PerfumeBox, and looking at the note breakdown and rumblings, I have a feeling I know what this is inspired by, so let's just dive in, find out. All right, here we have the box presentation for Dumont's Celerio Oros. Now kind of a nice pattern that's on the front here along with the logo there, but overall pretty straightforward cardboard box, but there is more to it in here. So let's pull this out, see what we got. All right, there we have the second box presentation. I should note, if you can't tell already, this is a really big box. This is hard to get into frame. It's got this kind of nice leathery sort of feel to it, kind of a plasticky leather, but still yet a nice texture to it. And it's got this kind of animal pattern, like a zebra print style of print on the front, so quite nice. It does have a kind of a plasticky emblem right there, but it doesn't feel cheap, and it does open up like a so to reveal our fragrance bottle sitting on the inside. And a nice kind of fuzzy foam podium. It's got, I don't know if the camera's gonna get it, but it's got a little bit of like a texture to it going on. So a little added pizzazz, quite nice. Good box presentation for this Celerio Oros. And there is our bottle presentation. This is a different looking bottle. I think I like this. I'm not too sure, but nice thick heavy glass. This is kind of a plasticky, but a thick plastic style band that's going around it. Cap on this, whoa, this is a really heavy metal cap on this. That's quite nice. And the atomizer on this sucker. Really nice atomizer. Not pressurized, but shoots halfway across the room. Good distribution, will absolutely get the job done. But what does this smell like? So right out the gate, just smelling this in the air, my suspicions were true. This very much smells very similar, is inspired by Creative Ventus. Your blackberry sweetness, some amber, got a bit of that kind of mossy, kind of smoky, birchy aspects going on to it. Some nice lemon citrus that's there as well. So definitely has all the ingredients for that kind of inspired by fragrance. But let's get this on paper, find some nuances. Let's just dive in. Yeah, so right off the rip, just smelling this off paper, a little bit different than it was in the air. I'm getting a little less of that kind of smoky, birchy moss that's coming through. And I'm getting a little bit of apple, a little bit of fresh spice. I'm getting that lemon for sure, and that blackcurrant sweetness. Also getting some nice touches of this like lily of the valley and jasmine. So the lily of the valley is adding this watery aspect to it, mixing really nice with those sweet accords and that citrus. And that jasmine is just kind of adding that kind of floral sweetness to it. And there's this like elemi style of fresh spice that's going on to this right now. It's kind of lending itself to that kind of that birchiness, but it's not quite there, but has that little bit of a spice going on. But it is different than that initial opening. And I will say I am getting a little bit more apple than I was expecting. That initially in the air it was that black currant, that amber sweetness that was coming through. But there is an apple note that's in here that's making this a little bit different than your typical inspired by fragrances from Aventus, and I'm kind of digging that. It's just like a new twist, kind of takes you in a little bit of a different direction, but it is undeniably going for that style of DNA. Yeah, as this is opening up a little bit more, it's taking on more of that kind of watery feel from that lily of the valley. There is some more amber sweetness coming through, so it's starting to get that kind of ambery texture, and that moss is coming through. So there's a little bit more green touches that are coming through as this is opening up, but that sweetness from that apple and that black currant still remain. The lemon's fallen back a little bit. It still has a little bit of that kind of that energetic citrus going on, but it has kind of fallen behind those sweet accords, as well as that lily of the valley and that amberiness, that moss that's coming through. Really quite nice. It is different than what I'm typically used to with the inspired by fragrances. But I'm digging it. Yeah, and after a few minutes, this is taking on a little bit more of that woody profile. So it is starting to kind of move into that territory of, again, that kind of birchy, woody, but it's more like a cedar wood, some earthy touches, kind of like a dry patchouli mixing with some cedar wood as well, but it's still maintaining that lily of the valley. So what I'm liking so far on this one that's a little bit different than some other inspired by fragrances, that apple note that's coming through and adding to those other sweet accords, as well as that lily of the valley. I find those are kind of unique touches to this, and it's kind of giving it its own character, even though this is very much, you know, what you would expect from that kind of inspired by fragrance. So let's skip to the dry down, see how this unfolds, and we'll go from there. All right, back with the dry down of Dumont Celerio Oros. Been about an hour, let this settle down, do its own thing. Dry down is your kind of your typical Creative Ventus twist inspired by style of fragrance. It's really nice. The amber has come forward a little bit more, so it has more of that ambery texture and a little bit more sweetness than some of the other ones I've tried. So it's on the sweeter side, but it still has that kind of smoky, earthy, woody profile that's in the base that you would expect from it. That moss, there's a little bit of musk has come through as well. One thing that fell back that I was hoping would stick around is that lily of the valley. It's kind of lost that green, watery touch that was in there in that midpoint. Could be just because it's off its test strip and not my skin, so it's we're gonna have to get it on skin to really see what it does there. But I did enjoy that aspect of it, along with that kind of green, that appley sweetness that was at the very top. That's fallen off as well. So overall, it's what you would expect in the dry down from a inspired by fragrance from Creative Ventus. Very, very similar. And overall, nothing groundbreaking, nothing too exciting, but it is very nice. The quality on this is definitely there. It is, I have to give my hats off to that all the notes that are coming through, there's no kind of synthetic-y vibe or kind of scratchy edges to it. This is really well blended and really well put together. So I'm enjoying this one, and pending performance, I think this is a decent pickup. It is $55, so it is up there when it comes to inspired by fragrances. So I'll have to get back to you guys, let you know where this kind of sits in the ranking of the 4 million inspired by fragrances of that Creative Ventus. So have to let you guys know, get back to you, but overall, pretty pleased with this one. That's Dumont Celerio Oros. And I want to hear from you guys. What are some other fragrances you want to see me do an unboxing video for? Comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I love getting your different recommendations, your hidden gems, your different taste and scent profiles. Appreciate you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.